Johann Wolfgang von Goethe once said that if you treat an individual as they are, they will remain as they are. But if you treat them as if they were what they ought to be and could be, they will become what they ought to be and could be. This is not merely poetic optimism. It is a fundamental law of human psychology that governs every interaction you have ever had. Most men walk through life responding to the world as it appears in front of them. They see disrespect, so they react with anger. They see chaos, so they react with frustration. They believe they are observing reality, but in truth, they are often creating it. You are not a passive observer of your relationships or your social status. You are the architect. The blueprint you hold in your mind eventually manifests in the behavior of those around you. If you believe you are surrounded by incompetence or malice, you will unconsciously signal that belief until you provoke exactly what you fear. Today, we are going to deconstruct one of the most powerful psychological mechanisms available to the Stoic mind. It is called the Pygmalion Effect. It is the reason why some men seem to effortlessly command respect and loyalty, while others constantly find themselves in conflict, regardless of who they are with. This is not about magic or wishful thinking. It is about neurobiology and behavioral conditioning. It is about understanding that your expectations act as a silent command. When you hold a rigid frame of high standards, not just for yourself, but for the identity of the people around you, the human mind strives to align with that expectation. We will explore how to stop complaining about the behavior you dislike and start engineering the behavior you deserve. Let us look at the mechanics of this phenomenon. The Pygmalion Effect, also known in academic circles as the Rosenthal Effect, suggests that higher expectations lead to an increase in performance. In the famous studies of the 20th century, researchers told teachers that certain students were intellectual bloomers who would show a massive increase in intelligence over the coming year. In reality, these students were chosen at random. They were no different from their peers. Yet, at the end of the year, those specific students showed significantly higher IQ gains than the rest of the class. The teachers did not teach them more material. They did not give them more time. But because the teachers believed these students were special, they unconsciously changed their micro-behaviors. They nodded more. They made more eye contact. They gave them more time to answer questions. They created a warm climate of high expectation. The students, sensing this belief, internalized it. They began to see themselves as capable, and so they became capable. Now consider the inverse. This is called the Golem Effect. It is the dark side of expectation. If you expect a person to fail, they will fail. If you expect a person to be argumentative, emotional, or disrespectful, you will unconsciously provoke those exact traits. Think about the modern dating landscape. Many men have been burned. They carry a heavy load of cynicism. They enter a new interaction with a defensive shield, waiting for the woman to play games, waiting for the drama, waiting for the disrespect. Because this is their baseline expectation, they scan reality for any sign that confirms their bias. A delayed text becomes proof of disinterest. A tired tone of voice becomes proof of attitude. The man reacts with coldness or aggression to a slight that did not exist. The woman feels this hostility and reacts defensively. A fight ensues. The man sits back and thinks that he was right all along. He does not see that his expectation was the catalyst for the chaos. This is where the concept of the frame becomes critical. In any social interaction, the person with the stronger reality wins. When you operate from a philosophy of cold reason, you understand that most people are reactive. They do not have a strong sense of self. They are looking to you to tell them who they are in the context of your relationship. If you label a partner as dramatic or crazy, you are handing her a script. You are telling her that her role in this movie is the antagonist. To reduce cognitive dissonance, she will subconsciously fulfill that role. She will act out the script you gave her because the human mind hates inconsistency. If you treat her like a child, she will throw tantrums like a child. If you treat her like an enemy, she will go to war. The high-value man flips this script. He utilizes the Pygmalion Effect to project a positive identity onto his partner. This requires a level of emotional discipline that most men lack. It is easy to react to bad behavior with criticism. It is much harder to ignore the temporary fluctuation and speak directly to the highest version of that person. When you treat a woman as if she already possesses the high standards, class, and calmness you desire, you create a vacuum. She feels the gap between her current behavior and your high opinion of her. This creates a psychological pressure to rise up. She wants to be the person you see. She wants to maintain that high-value image. By projecting a noble identity onto her, you make it socially expensive for her to act in low-value ways. Let us apply this to specific scenarios. Consider the issue of punctuality. The average man waits for his partner to be late, then complains. He says, "You are always late, and you have no respect for my time." He has just reinforced her identity as a person who is late and disrespectful. He has cemented the behavior. The strategic man takes a different approach. When she is on time or even close to it, he reinforces the identity he wants. He says, "I appreciate that you are the kind of person who values punctuality as much as I do. It shows a lot of class." Now, she has a reputation to uphold. She has been identified as a person of class and punctuality. If she is late next time, she feels a genuine internal conflict because her action contradicts the positive identity you gave her. Consider conflict resolution. It is common to get caught in a loop of emotional reactivity. If she raises her voice, the average man raises his louder. He enters the frame of chaos. He validates the madness. A man with a cold mind refuses to enter that frame. Instead, he projects the identity of rationality. When the temperature rises, he might pause and say that this shouting is not like her. He might say that he knows her to be reasonable and capable of discussing things calmly, so he is confused by this temporary lapse. This is a devastatingly effective move. You are not attacking her. You are attacking the behavior by separating it from her identity. You are saying that the crazy behavior is beneath her. You are inviting her to step back up to the pedestal of rationality. Most people will take that offer. They want to be seen as reasonable. This approach requires you to suspend your immediate judgment. It requires you to stop being a victim of other people's moods. You must understand that people are fluid. Their personalities are not as fixed as you think. They adapt to the container you build for them. If your container is small, rigid, and filled with suspicion, they will wither. If your container is expansive and built on high standards, they will grow to fill it. This is true leadership. Leadership is not forcing people to do what you want.
Leadership is making them want to do what you want because they believe it is part of their own best identity. However, we must address the difference between high expectations and delusion. You are not ignoring reality. You are selectively reinforcing the parts of reality that serve your mission. If someone is fundamentally toxic or dangerous, the Pygmalion Effect has limits. You cannot turn a shark into a golden retriever by treating it nicely. But in the realm of normal human relationships, most issues are not caused by fundamental toxicity.
They are caused by poor communication loops and negative reinforcement. Most partners are simply mirroring the energy they receive. If you change the input, you change the output. There is a subtle power in how you vocalize these expectations. It is not about demanding, it is about observing. It is the difference between saying, "Be quiet," and saying, "I value your silence and your ability to listen." One is a command that invites rebellion. The other is an observation of a virtue that invites agreement. When you use identity praise, you are bypassing the conscious defense mechanisms. You are planting a seed in the subconscious. You are telling her that she is kind, that she is loyal, that she is disciplined. You find small pieces of evidence to support these claims, even if you have to look hard. By highlighting these small moments, you make them grow. What you focus on expands. If you focus on her flaws, they will multiply. If you focus on her potential, it will realize itself. This requires a shift in your internal dialogue. You cannot fake this if your internal monologue is filled with resentment. People are incredibly perceptive at reading micro-expressions. If you say nice words, but your eyes scream contempt, the Golem Effect will still trigger. You must actually change your internal expectation. This leads us to practical and safe practices you can implement immediately to strengthen your frame and clean up your relational dynamics. The first practice is the visualization of the best version. Before you walk through the door of your home, or before you meet for a date, take 10 seconds to reset your emotional state. Visualize the interaction going perfectly. Visualize your partner greeting you with warmth and respect. Visualize yourself responding with calm power. This is not mystical manifestation. It is priming your reticular activating system to spot positive cues. If you walk in expecting warmth, your face will be open. Your posture will be relaxed. You will invite the very warmth you imagined. If you walk in expecting a headache, you will likely create one within 5 minutes. The second practice is specific identity reinforcement. Stop giving generic compliments about appearance. They are cheap and low value. Start complimenting character traits that make your life easier and your relationship stronger. If she handles a difficult situation well, do not just say, "Good job." Say that you admire her emotional control and that few people have that kind of stoicism. By using words like stoicism, discipline, loyalty, and class, you are raising the vocabulary of the relationship. You are introducing high-level concepts that she will strive to embody. You are effectively training her to value the same things you value. The third practice is the strategic pause. When behavior occurs that does not align with your high expectations, do not react immediately. Silence is a powerful corrective tool. If she says something disrespectful, do not argue. Just look at her with a neutral expression. Let the silence hang. The silence communicates that what she just said does not register in your reality because it is below the standard you have set. Usually, she will scramble to fill the silence and correct herself.
You are giving her the space to realize her own mistake without you having to point it out. This preserves her dignity and your energy. It is important to remember that this philosophy applies to everyone in your life, not just romantic partners. It applies to your colleagues, your employees, and even your children. If you treat a junior employee as a future leader, they will start taking ownership. If you treat them as a cog in the machine, they will do the bare minimum. The world is a mirror. If you frown at it, it frowns back. If you stand tall and demand excellence through your own example and your projection of expectation, the world often falls in line.
There is a common myth that this kind of psychological strategy is manipulative. People will say that you should just accept people exactly as they are. But unconditional acceptance of bad behavior is not a virtue. It is a weakness. It leads to the degradation of standards. In a relationship, you are a team. A captain does not just accept that his team is playing poorly. He demands more, because he believes they are capable of more. By holding the bar high, you are paying your partner the ultimate compliment. You are saying that you see greatness in them, even when they do not see it in themselves. You are refusing to settle for their lowest common denominator. However, you must be the first example of this high standard. You cannot project an expectation of discipline if you are undisciplined. You cannot expect emotional regulation if you lose your temper. The Pygmalion effect works because it is a transfer of certainty. You must be certain of your own value and your own code. When your frame is unshakable, others feel safe entering it. They feel safe letting go of their chaotic patterns because your stability offers a better alternative. Reflect on your past relationships. How many times did a relationship spiral downward because you started to anticipate the end? You started to protect yourself. You withdrew affection. You started keeping score. You created a self-fulfilling prophecy of doom. You were right about the breakup, but you were wrong about the cause. The cause was not fate. The cause was a collapse of expectation. You stopped seeing the potential and started seeing the problem. This philosophy of the cold mind asks you to take total responsibility for the tone of your life. It removes the luxury of blaming others for their reactions. While you cannot control everything another person does, you have massive influence over which version of them shows up to interact with you. Every person has multiple facets. They have a kind facet, a cruel facet, a lazy facet, and a diligent facet. Your expectation is the light that illuminates one of those facets and leaves the others in the dark. So, the next time you find yourself frustrated with the people around you, ask yourself a difficult question. What identity have I been projecting onto them? Have I been treating them like an annoyance? Have I been treating them like a disappointment? Or have I been treating them like the high-value allies I need them to be? The shift begins in your own mind. It begins with the refusal to accept a reality that does not serve you. You have the tools to reshape your social environment. You have the knowledge of how the human brain seeks to resolve the gap between expectation and reality. Use this knowledge. Stop fighting the current and start directing the river. Raise your mental bar. Expect competence. Expect loyalty. Expect respect. Do not just demand it with words, but embody the expectation in your tone, your patience, and your unwavering belief. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. This is the power of the cold mind. It does not beg for a better reality. It commands it through the silent, invisible force of expectation.